I believe that Florida State will go all in on keeping their top players and building a foundation.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 podcasting network in America. We're going to be talking all things Florida State football tonight. It is going to be broad. It is going to be fun. It is going to be opinionated. I'm going to be discussing why I think Florida State's going to go all in about their players that are going to try to retain for the next staff. And I also think they're going to go all in on trying to get the best coach. I want to talk about that a little bit, but we're also going to talk about the assistant coaches, the NC State game, and overall, just what you think. This is a live edition, and if you're listening to this later on, I'm going to be reading a few mailbag questions, comments, and then people from the chat, if they want to jump in and talk about it, that's all fun too. It's a little bit of everything because it's time to kind of let the air feel everything that we have here. There's nothing that's not open. It's Florida State football at the end of the season. A lot of thoughts. So let's dive in. Number one thing here, player retention. And to put it mildly, I think it's the number one thing they have to do. I've talked about this earlier in the week last week. Micahi Danzy, Ousmane Kromah, Cam Davis, Sam Singleton, Jonathan Daniels, Mario Nash Jr., all the young players like Shamar Arnaud, Kai Bates, anybody like that. And then, of course, Landon Thomas, Randy Pittman. The list is pretty extensive. And then got young players like Kevin Wynn, who's played just a little bit. I looked him up a little bit ago, 40 reps this year. You have to find a way during this unsettling time to make sure they want to be here. And I know I'm talking about this from a future tense, like they're getting rid of Norvell, because until otherwise proven, I think that's what's going to happen. But even if they didn't, they have to find a way to keep those players. So number one with that, I think we could all agree, you got to pay your best players and your future. If you take nothing else from this show tonight, Florida State's got to do it. But here's my one question and my one major concern. If for whatever reason, and I'm wrong, that they don't get rid of Norvell, will the boosters that are not happy about it, will they donate? If it splits, if the boosters aren't in agreement, this goes sideways. And every school goes through this potential concern. When there's a coaching change, there is a concern that, hey, we didn't get the guy that I wanted. Why would I give you my money? Reasonable question. And if you have that happen with the really big boosters, then you have concern. So my only big problem from tonight, everything else can be pretty straightforward. Will that happen? Part of that's pot luck. It really is. And to that end, I just want to read off a few questions. And if anybody's got any comments or anything in the chat, fire away. Just have some fun with it. But these are kind of random, but based on some of the shows we've had recently, the live show that I had on Saturday and some of the other things that we've had here recently, just comments from YouTube, etc. U009 says, spot on. I personally like Franklin, who has the experience that could get us to the college football playoff. I was talking about coaching changes. I said I didn't know if Mike Norvell, like when he's gone, if James Franklin, the former Penn State coach, would be an option. But he would be a guy that could recruit. He's proven. He's pretty consistent. And there's one thing about him that I know from studying him and studying the way he recruits and builds his roster. He's very thorough. They do not take idiots. They don't take a bunch of guys at Penn State that are going to be burned out for, dealing with the discipline that you have to have at the college level. They're getting up early. They're going to bed late. It's kind of a military lifestyle playing college football. He did a really good job with that. And I think Florida State would do well if they had Franklin because they probably need a little bit more discipline. Like Tony White talked about that around the edges, if you will, during fall camp, and I don't think he was wrong. Florida State needed more. They've actually showed some during the season in stretches, but obviously nowhere near where they need to get to. So there's probably another version, not necessarily a purge of the roster, but there's probably another transformation that needs to take place. not enough guys are bought in to the level they need to be. It's one thing to want to do it 80%, but that holistic, always in all the time, probably something that Florida State is not anywhere near right now. William Burns, 7580, writes, many current players were here because they were meant to fit the Norvell, the Malzahn, the Whites on offense and defense. They aren't going to take to the coaching change any better than Tommy did when he was at Boston College and they changed coaches there. That's a really interesting comment. Players pick coaches because the systems that at least they think are going to work or are going to help them get to the NFL. When O'Brien went to, this is so funny. When O'Brien went to BC, you could make an argument there wasn't a worse fit for an OC in the country. And he's the head coach, but he's a quarterback guy. He coached Tom Brady at New England than O'Brien for Tommy. So this is an interesting comment, and well done on that, by the way. We don't know who Florida State would get, but it's inevitable that not only the head coach may not fit, some of the young men in Tallahassee, the assistant coaches that are brought in could also be of concern. So that's where it gets really, really interesting. Does Florida State hire guys that are similar to the schemes? I have no idea. But if they don't, it could lead to more attrition because kids want to play at a school where they think their talents are going to be used the best. I get that. I can't say that I would blame them, but that's part of the process. One of the best names I've ever seen on the YouTube page, Pork and Beans 305. So I see Franklin is stalling Virginia Tech because he wants to see what's going to happen with Norvell. I hope we don't miss that opportunity, dragging out the firing process. I don't know. I've heard rumors that people are saying, but I haven't gained anything personally on what's going on with James Franklin in Florida State, if anything. If there is anything to that, again, I wouldn't frown at it. Florida State would make an upgrade. Recruiting would certainly improve. And again, he's consistent. But I don't know if he's stalling Virginia Tech or if he has a number of other jobs he'd be interested in. My guess is Franklin would rather have Auburn. He'd rather have Florida. He'd rather have Florida State or LSU. No offense to Virginia Tech, but that is not as good a job. Richard Paridi, what's going on, Richard? A number of these guys are going into the portal, especially if Norvell remains the head football coach. You're probably right. I think that's the other side of this. Let's not forget, this goes both ways. Some players are probably tired of Norvell. That's fair. Some players are probably tired of their position coach, and vice versa. That's also open to interpretation. Change can be good. Sometimes it works out great. Sometimes it's not the answer at all. But young men often think that it is, and that's why they hop in the portal. Remember, one portal window now, only one, January 2nd through January 16th. There will not be any form of a transfer portal window where players can get in the portal after spring. That's over. If you go into spring ball, that's your school, or you got to sit out. You could transfer, but it's not going to do you any good. You're going to have to sit out the season. So anyway, that's going to be very, very interesting. When we come back, I've got some comments in the chat. I'm going to start talking about the recruiting. There's a couple of players, and one in particular, junior college kid, it looks like Florida State is trending for. And also have some questions for the Florida State fans in addition. We got a lot to get to here on this live edition of Locked on Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, and the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of an NBA game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that weight push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, once again, thank you. I truly mean it for you stopping in to help me build this show. It's been a lot of fun over the last couple of years building Locked On Seminoles, and we're just going to keep on growing. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. Become an everydayer and be a part of this community. Like and share. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the chat. Let's have a little fun with that. A few comments in here to say hello to everybody. D Nice says, "Go Noles." What's up, man? This one's an interesting. I haven't heard this one. Sean Wallace, 1877. I want John Gruden. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. The one no, we're not going after Franklin. I haven't heard that they were, but that would be interesting. Mike Merrick, what's up, Brian and Noel Nation? Go Knowles. What's up, Mike? How you doing, sir? What's going to happen when we win our last two games? That is from Scott Fells, 3473. If they win the last two games, I'll address it then. But as I said on the Saturday Night Live show, no matter what, they need to fire Norvell. He is not the answer because your objective is to win titles, and that's not what he is. Let's see here. Romeo, I'm willing to bet that Norvell is here to stay through 26, win or lose the last two games. Okay. I mean, we'll see soon enough. We're so close to the end of the season, I'm not even worried about predictions anymore, to be honest. Robert Smith, Norvell will stay, might be a bowl eligible. That will keep him safe this year, but 26 definitely gone, and the buyout would be cheaper than nobody talking about that. I don't think the buyout difference at this point is the point of it. They got to find the money. Irish Brave, realistically, what percentage of players do you believe a new coach like Franklin would bring from their old program, and how many would they retain? That is a fantastic question. Holy cow, that's a really good question. I imagine that some of the Penn State guys could come, but let's just use Franklin as an example. They got enough talent there that some could come over. That's possible. But you got to remember, they're mostly a northern school. So it would depend on the coach. If you hired a guy like somebody from one of the schools in Florida, Georgia, or like the Tulane head coach, those are closer and those are in areas where kids are more likely to go to Florida State. I think it would be a higher number. So while I understand the thought about Franklin, a lot of decisions are made on culture. PA and Florida don't have much in common. Weather, socially, how they talk, everything, it's just a different world. So some might come over. It's possible, but I'd imagine it'd be more like a grad student for last year wanting to change or something. There'd probably be some, but if Somrall came over from Tulane and they got 10 kids, would that surprise me? No, not in the least. I could see that absolutely. And for those that are wondering, I'm not saying Somrall's coming, but I'm just using him as an example because he's in New Orleans. I mean, that makes a little more sense. PVB Noel, what's your take on Hartline from what you've seen on the trail? I've met Brian before. He's a nice guy. Really good recruiter from speaking with recruits directly from Jeremiah Smith on. And he's a good coach. But can he be the guy that leads the program? I have no idea. Recruiting wise, though, I think he wins based on what he says he's going to do. He does. He proves that he can put guys in the NFL. So that kind of takes care of itself. Kramer, it was nice seeing that second string corner have an awesome game. 11 was out, and the young guy stepped up big. Shamar Arnaud. Yeah, he's not. If I remember right, I think that's who you're talking about. He can play. We had other guys coming in and out of the lineup. Florida State is not bereft of talent in the secondary, just in general. They have some players. Rod Stoudemire, recruiting overlord, great content. Go Knowles. Thank you, sir. Truly appreciate that. Dwayne, what do you make of Tony White's tweet? His thank you tally was interesting. Don't know if you spoke about it. Thank you. I didn't know. I don't follow him. I don't think on social media. I can look it up. I have no idea if Tony White is trying to say something or not. But at the same time, anything's possible. I highly doubt he's giving cryptic messages about wanting to leave or whatever. Anything's possible, though. Let's see. He's got this Florida State stuff up that I see. Interesting. I think okay. That's the November 14th. I think he's referring to last time in Tallahassee this season. I don't think that means overall. I wouldn't worry about that at all. Sean Wallace, we would definitely need to get the Seminole Hard Rock Cafe contract going in the right directions to get a John Gruden. He lives in Tampa. He needs a reset. He's waiting for the Tampa job. Perfect. Gruden back in Tampa would be interesting. Super Elvis, honestly, you think we'll get Franklin as head coach? I have no idea. I wouldn't bet on any coach at this point because there's too many schools that are involved. Just in general, looking for a coach, I wouldn't make any prediction on any school. It's too wide open. Robert Smith, Brian, Who are your top 3 picks if something does happen? Somrall, I think, would be a top one. He's got ties to this area for recruiting, etc. He's the head coach at Tulane. I think that both the coaches that are assistants at Georgia and Georgia Tech, the linebacker / DC for the Dogs, and Buster Faulkner, the OC / quarterback coach for Georgia Tech, who was with the Dogs just a few years ago, ironically. Those would be my top 2. Outside of that, as far as the head coaches around, I mean, you could throw out, Golish is another one, but I don't think they're going to end up with a splash name if that's what you're looking for. I think it'll be a little bit different. Super Elvis. Virginia Tech ran for over 200 yards on our defense. What do you think? North Carolina State is going to do what they will have a hate day. I'm not sure what that means, but Florida State is going up against a team that basically didn't show up against Miami. I was a little surprised. I mean, they've got an NFL running back in Hollywood Smothers, and he had like 5 yards or something. Their offensive line did not play well. Miami just beat them to death from play one on. Florida State's a 6-point favorite in that game. Just throwing that out there. Florida State's defense was awful in some ways, but I mean, I don't know, man. I'd imagine NC State will play better. Romeo, is Jimbo still working Tallahassee? Rumors are that he has some support from the boosters, but hate from the others. Just saying, I highly doubt Jimbo's a serious threat for the job. Let's see. Champs 998. Mike Norvell will still be the head coach at Florida State in 26. I disagree. Super Elvis. Virginia Tech ran all over us. I can't imagine North Carolina State and Florida. North Carolina State is not very good at running the ball right now. I don't understand why, but they're not. Florida, Jaden Ball might. Samuel Gibson. What's going on, brother? I just got out of church. Glad to see all as well. Thank you very much. I hope you're doing well, Samuel. Yeah, I don't know what to make of the ridiculousness, if you will, regarding Florida State's run defense the other night. Really, really, really weird. It's truly odd. Transferring running backs to keep. Which one would you want to go after hard from transferring? Kromah. That's the one. If Florida State can keep Kromah, that would be the absolute best thing to do. When we come back, I'm going to have a few questions, including the assistants and the NIL. We're going to talk about that next. I'll explain why. It's going to get very dicey. You're going to have some difficult questions as Florida State and fans and boosters. That is next on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. College football is rolling, and it couldn't be more exciting. Tailgates, rivalries, and all the energy in the stands. Nothing quite like college football, but let's be real. Actually getting tickets can be more difficult than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, and prices jumping out at you at the checkout. That's why I use Game Time. I actually just bought a couple tickets and had them sent to my phone here in the last couple of days and downloaded them, ready to go into the game. The app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets and get great deals. I used the Game Time app. In 5 minutes, I did all of the following. Found the game I wanted. Found the seat view I wanted. You can see it right on your phone. Decided which tickets that I wanted. Came down to a decision. Inserted my credit card info and checked out. 5 minutes. It is not hard. Game Time is very, very convenient. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets or any others with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, promo code LOCKEDONCollege, $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day. I am Brian Smith. Thank you for checking us out. And now it is question time for you. Got a couple here. With the assistants and the boosters and everything that you got to think about in a coaching change, there's a lot of stuff. We'll get into the admin side in a second. But I'm just curious. This is off the top of my head. If you could only pick one guy, this isn't realistic. You want to save as many as you can, but who's the biggest priority to keep on the roster for long term? You can pick offense, you can pick defense, skill player, lineman, whatever. Comment down below if you are listening to this later. If you're in the chat, fire away. But what player would you want to keep no matter what? Micahi Danzy? Is it Maybe Big Kevin Wynn because he's a nose guard. Shamar No, the corner that's been playing. Who would it be? Why? Are you ready to go all in if you're a booster that can do that? There are a lot of good young players on Florida State's team. The Desir twins. I mean, you can go in a lot of different directions. Ousmane Kromah, the lineman like Mario Nash Jr. He's redshirting, but that's a really highly touted offensive lineman. I wouldn't have a problem with any of those. Landon Thomas, Wayne McCoy, any direction you want to go here. Who, what, when, where, and why. And if you want to go a couple players deep, that's fine. But who's your number one? I'm curious about that. Number two question, while I'm at it, might as well go ahead and get this out there. Is there an assistant coach that if there is a coaching change, who's the guy you want no matter what? Why? Not every system fits, but if you could, assuming the system's at least somewhat applicable and that individual could be held over, who would it be? And again, why? For me, I don't know him. Surtain would be up there. I prefer teams that run man and have the guts to play it. I think it's easier to recruit to. And I also think he's a guy that's a pretty good recruiter. He has ties. Obviously, he was the head coach at American Heritage. He's a famous player himself. His son's a famous NFL player. Across the board, it's good. So I'm going to go with Surtain. But I could see it from a lot of different perspectives. Pot roast and different guys. There are a lot of good coaches on the staff from a recruiting perspective, and it's way better than it was. Herb Hand's a great guy, etc. There's a million ways you can look at it to help keep retention high. I don't know what it would be, though, overall for people. I'm not sure what I'll get an answer for with coaches. As it relates to the boosters, this is more of an overarching theme here. This is a little broader. We're kind of getting into the admin here. Do you think if Norvell is fired, the boosters are more apt to go all in on donating, or is it going to matter regardless? So if they keep Norvell, everybody's pretty much going to donate the same compared to if they get rid of him. That one, I expect a lot of different answers. I don't think it's an easy one. I agree if you think that's a difficult question because there's still a lot of nuance. Because the first thing I'm going to get is, well, Brian, it depends on which coach they hired, not just did they get rid of Norvell. And you're right. But I don't know who it's going to be, so I can't, if you want to speculate on that, fire away. That's going to be interesting. We'll know based on the retention and some of the rumors coming out from different places, Bud and War Chant and everywhere else, Tallahassee Democrat. There'll be some interesting thoughts there. I guarantee it. Let's see here. Samuel Gibson. I'd like to keep the twins. I'd like to keep Kevin Sperry. Like to keep Danzy and all the young players in the secondary. That would be a pretty good start. Let me throw something else out there. Kevin Wynn needs to be in that group. If you're going to keep the twins, you're thinking about D lineman and you're smart. Kevin Wynn's the big 320 plus pound or 330 plus pound nose guard. Just aren't enough of those players, guy. Can't find him. I know he's only played 40 snaps this year, but every school in the country want him. Schools like Georgia, Texas, Alabama. It's a good sign. Let's see. The Twins, 2 for 1 at a money position. PVB Knoll, great statement. Man, they play hard, don't they? They're fun to watch. I appreciate that. I really do. It's one of the reasons I liked Florida State football when I was a kid. The defense always went at it. Joanne224 says, I'd keep Wynn or anyone in the trenches. You build your team from the inside out. Assistant, I'd keep Surtain and Tim Harris. Those are two really good choices on the coaching front, too. By the way, your point about building from within, 100%, man. 100%. There's no doubt. Samuel Gibson, Coach Ham. Ham? I'm not sure what you mean by Coach Ham. PVB Knoll. If Norvell was retained, Ray must go. Yeah. I donate, they get rid of Norvell. Samuel Gibson. I think a lot of people will kind of look at it like that. I think a lot of people will. Can't really blame them. If I had to guess, the more I think about it here in the moment, and maybe I'm dead wrong, I think there would be more people involved donating. I don't know what the total would be, but I think a lot of people that are just fans, just the average fans that go to like 2-3 games a year, they may not be able to afford the luxury suites and all that stuff, but they'll spend $1,000 or more a year on Florida State football tickets, taking their buddy or their wife or their kid, whatever. That kind of person is more likely to donate the 50 to $100. I know that's not going to help FSU a ton, but it adds up and it shows support. People want to know that you care about them, and changing not just the head coach, but the culture, bringing in some other coaches probably wouldn't hurt. Changing the roster a little bit probably would not hurt. I think all those things probably matter. Let's see here. Coach Hand. Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Samuel. That makes sense. One last question here, and I'll wrap this up. Just want to talk. Well, I'll give a couple. It's on NC State. They're related. Can Florida State pass the football better? This is just a generic question I have. Tommy, man, he missed some shots like pretty bad. And I know he's not John Elway, but I mean, he missed some pretty easy ones. And Deuce didn't exactly help himself. He missed a couple too. Second question. For the love of mankind, regardless of what they're running, and as a reminder, like NC State could not run the ball at all against Miami. Can we have a little more defensive discipline with run gap bits? In other words, two guys can't go cover the A gap while the B gap is wide open, et cetera, et cetera. That's one of the reasons NC State has a chance in this game. If you give them free plays, just like that game against Tech, like first play of the game, they got 40 yards. The tackling was bad after they caught up to the guy, but he ran through a gaping hole out just outside the tackle box. Somebody didn't feel right. You give credit to Tech, but good Lord, that was terrible. Final question here. I think this is paramount. NC State, for anybody that's ever paid attention to a game in Raleigh, that place gets loud. They don't like Florida State. They will come out in droves for that game. I think that if Florida State survives the first 5 to 10 minutes and it's tied or FSU has the lead, they're fine. But what I just talked about, for run gap fits, missing it, like if somebody, let's say it's Deuce, let's say it's Will Wayne. If somebody streaks down the field, they beat their guy, you have to connect. Remember earlier this year, Tommy killed it on that stuff. Just killed it. He was leading the nation in yards per attempt. Literally. Having stated that, can't miss them. Not when they're open. And there's been a few that it's like, hey, he's got 2 steps on that guy. Just give it a little air. Allow your receiver a chance to catch the football. They can't miss them. So, question for everybody. Will Florida State come out in the first 5 to 10 minutes against NC State and truly play well? If they do, I mean, NC State folded like a cheap suit against Miami. They were awful. So one of 2 things is going to happen. You punch them in the mouth early and you knock them out. Or if you let them hang around, that crowd gets into it. They still got some talent at receiver, tight end, running back. Hollywood Smothers is good. That could be interesting. He's not very good. Here's an interesting one. Joanne says, boosters would be more excited if he's fired. Some boosters I know have gotten renewals and flat out said, call me when he's gone. Oh, wow. Now, that's a bold statement for people who are doing that. I appreciate that. Honesty is the best policy. And I'm not saying that just to be mean to FSU, but that's how you feel. You need to be honest with them and say, hey, this is why I have chosen not to donate. I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing that, Joanne. That's actually pretty interesting. PVB Noel. Tommy's height, man. He can't see a thing. I understand that issue. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I think we'll end on that one. That's pretty good stuff right there. Thank you very much for sharing that, brother. That's pretty good. Let's see. Once again, thank you to everybody that stopped in, kind of air it out a little bit, what their thoughts are, whether Mike's staying, whether he's going, NC State game, boosters, assistant coaches, retention. We covered a lot of ground. Just as a last parting moment, Josh Warren is a defensive end. I think he's at Georgia Military. to junior college or community college in the state of Georgia, obviously. Looks like Florida State's going to get him. That might come pretty soon. Maybe it even did while I'm doing this pod. But they need defensive ends. They need at least one more beyond him, too. So thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 network in the land. We will see you again soon.